Welcome to the Manufactured Housing Sales and Marketing Podcast, where homes are mobile and strategies are agile. With your host, Brandon Mead, we'll be diving deep into the world of manufactured housing with insights tailored specifically for park owners and operators like you. We blend professionalism acumen with a touch of casual conversation, aiming to equip you with the latest in sales and marketing techniques that propel your business forward. Whether you're looking to enhance your park's appeal, streamline operations, or just stay ahead of industry trends, you've found your community. So tune in, turn up the volume, and let's take your manufactured housing game to the next level.
Starting out as our first year in business, obviously I was in the business for 14 years prior to launching Manufacturing Sales Mastery, but I was on the retail side. So I was sales manager, general manager, and got into this. And now I'm at the point, like I said, where I'm looking to scale. I've done everything on my own, from the website design to, marketing pieces and things of that nature. I outsourced some of my graphics at one point in time, and then the person disappeared on me. Everything I'm doing myself. But now that I've got this one person, that we're starting with one, I think we'll probably be bringing another person on within the next week or two. I want to start focusing in more on strategic marketing, my SEO, my everything that I haven't really done, that I've just kind of hodgepodged everything and done it just to make myself somewhat have some, I'm not even gonna say relevant, just to have the things that people would look for. Does he have a website? Yes, there it is. Okay, it's got some stuff on there. Great. Now I want to go to the next level with that, and focus some of my time, my attention on that. So, what is it? I've seen some of the things that you've done, but what exactly do you guys do with regards to the marketing, and how long have you been in this space, for it, that kind of thing?
Sure. So I'll start with kind of the history and work forward there, and then we'll talk service. I've been in the industry since 2007. I started with an operator. I was their marketing director, and they went through a buyout. That was back 2011, I think it was. And so as a result of that, they closed our office and wished me well in my future endeavors. And so I went and I said, you know what, I'll do some consulting. And so I kind of started doing consulting, did that for probably 4 or 5 years, and was really more kind of a one-man show. Hey, let me help you, tell you what you need, doing a little bit of service, but most of it was true consulting. And then it was around 2016 going into 17, around that time, that I was like, you know what, I think this could be a full-time agency serving this space. And basically what I did is I took a lot of what I did when I was a marketing director for an operator, and our focus then was to build an in-house agency. And so I took those same principles that I had implemented there and started applying it and building out an agency for MH specifically. And so our focus has always been the same. We want to help put people in homes. So that's something now that has been a big part of my life for a long time now. Right. And it's something that I'm passionate about. It's a core value inside of our company. It's a part of our mission statement. And it's really important that everybody on our team understands that our job is to help people find the community that's a good fit for them, and to help them to find the home that's a good fit for them. So that's kind of the backstory of how I got to here. So through all that, I've generated literally over, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's over 1 million leads that I've done specifically for MH. So a lot of lead gen. When I started, we were doing billboards and classified ads in the newspaper. So it makes me sound really old when I say that, but that's what I started with. And so, I've been through the progression to get to where we are now, where it's almost exclusively digital. So as an agency, what I tell people is our focus is to help you identify gaps in your business as it relates to marketing and ultimately leading down the sales road, right? So what we typically will do with someone is we'll sit down and talk with them, and we'll look at, hey, what do you have that's working right now? Because everybody has something that's working. And so I'll create a scenario. We sit down and they tell us, hey, we're doing social media, and we look at it and it looks good to us, and they love the person that's doing it. Maybe it's an internal employee, maybe it's, their son or daughter, whoever it is,
Yeah.
but they're happy. Then we
Right.
say, okay, don't change that. Keep doing what you're happy with. And then let us help you with this other that we've identified as a gap in your business and kind of what take you to the next level. So our approach is really to kind of roadmap everything out for them, but we do it all based on what are their sales goals? What are they trying to accomplish sales wise? Because I think what a lot of agencies will do is they'll say, you need to be doing social media, you need a new website, you need Facebook ads, you need Google ads, you need LinkedIn ads. They just stack everything up and it becomes this giant line item on the statement. And eventually somebody's like, why are we spending so much money here? And so what we want to do is identify where the opportunities are, help you see where you need to go, again, based on the sales goals, because the needs of somebody that are selling 2 homes a year versus somebody that needs to sell 50 homes a year, it's drastically different what their needs are. So we really start with the sales target and say, tell us what that is. And that tells us a lot about the person we're talking to. If they have no idea of what a sales target is, they're going to have a hard time spending money on marketing. But if they look at it and they say, look, I need to sell 100 homes this year. So we're saying, okay, so you need to sell like 8 or 9 homes a month, every month. And knowing that it's also going to be kind of seasonal. It's not going to fall perfectly 8 or 9 homes a month. So, all right, that's going to take some effort versus the guy that just says, hey, I'm basically full. I've got these 2 open spots. I'd like to sell them this year if I can. He's in a total different headspace. And so we try and be sensitive to that. And that's really foundational for us. So we say our job is to help people fill their communities and then help them stay full. And so on the stay full piece of it, we're helping them promote their referral programs. We're helping them capture more Google reviews or to continue to capture that so that down the road, a year from now, they have a home that comes back or something like that. We've already been doing things along the way to build them a big list of potential people. And that way, hopefully, if when it's done correctly, they don't have to go back and reinvest in all these other marketing channels. They can just say, hey, we've already got the names. So that's really our focus. We do really, I mean, we are a full-scale marketing agency. So right now we're a team of 8. Within the next 3 months, we will likely be adding 2 more members to the team to fill some specific roles for us. And so we can take on all of it. Today, I had a call with somebody about doing some signage for inside their offices.
Okay.
So we can still do the traditional stuff.
Yeah.
Main emphasis is digital though.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. So 2000, so it is specific to the community space and what you're doing.
For the most part, now we do work with retailers. We've worked with dealers. We've worked a lot inside the space. So I'm not against it. And with the right person, I'm willing to do it, but we try and stay in the MH space. So when I say try, we're, I think 98% MH now. I have some legacy clients that have just been with me. They started with me as a consultant and they've stayed with us. And so I'm not going to kick them out because we have a great relationship, but we try and focus and stay inside the industry. So with the right conversation, I had some of those at the most recent trade show where it's like somebody, it's not really they're not a community, but they have the right mentality and they need help and they don't know what to do. So that's always my thing is I want to educate them, make sure they have the right information. If they work with us, fantastic. But if they go somewhere else, I at least want them to have something to think about and say, these are the questions that I need to be thinking through.
Awesome. Awesome. So when you're taking on a client, right? I know you said you go through what's working and try and figure out what's not. For communities themselves, what do you feel works out best as far as a marketing plan or a marketing platform, I guess I should say?
Sure. So foundationally for us, what we look at is what are you doing with the leads you're getting right now? So everything for us starts there. A lot of times we have conversations, they're like, well, they write them on a notepad in the office. Or we're talking to somebody, he's like, I don't really know what happens. I live in Texas and the community is in Tennessee. I'm not there. I don't really know, but I've got a great manager. He's been there a long time. That's usually how the conversation goes. And so we usually start there. We're like, look, we have a platform that you can use that we offer to our clients. But if you don't want to use ours, that's okay. but you need some place that everything goes to. You need some central hub to capture everything. And to a lot of people, that may sound basic, but in our industry, it's not always that way. And it's more of the former, where they're writing them down, or they're having the prospect fill out a card and they're just collecting cards. There's no way to communicate with that person further than that moment, really. So we start there. And then once we know that we have a solid place to capture, then it's like, what does your follow-up process, which this will kind of bleed a little bit into your world, but
Right.
we're basically, what we're encouraging people to do is you need a structured follow-up. One of the things that I learned working for a big operator, doing marketing for 140 communities at a time, was I needed the marketing to be the same everywhere. I couldn't have this guy do it this way, this one do it this way, and all of this. I needed to know that every lead was getting followed up on the same way, basically like 90% of the time or better.
Right.
And kind of starting there. So that's the next piece that we work through with them is, what does your current follow-up look like? Tell us about it. And if they don't have one, which is more common than not, then it's like, let's build out a structured follow-up. So in our world, what that typically means is we want you to follow up, or using us and our systems, we want you to follow up between 10 and 14 times over the first week. And
Right.
so usually they'll get hit 3 or 4 times on the first day, and then it starts to fade. We'll follow up with leads for like 12 months now, is kind of the flow that we're working with. The further you get from the time they come in, it's less.
Right.
And our philosophy is, if they are talking to you now, a lot of these people are coming from rental situations. So if they're talking to you now, there's a decent chance that they may be getting back into another rental situation. So 12 months from now, it makes sense to, that's our approach. And so basically at that point, it's about keeping the name in front of them. So they know, they remember, is like, oh yeah, that, Wheel Estates. Yeah. That community, that's the community, that sort of thing.
Right.
And, we really want the managers involved though. So even if they're using us in our process, we want the manager to be a participant, because I don't think that they benefit if everything's isolated. So we want documentation. We want the manager involved. So we start there. So that's kind of foundational to us. Once we move past that, typically the next places we start looking is, let's look at what you look like on search. So let's start there. Like if we're talking a community, we want to see, what does your Google business page look like? What's going on there? What are your competitors doing? So that's a big part of our process, is let's learn about your competitors and see what they're doing as well. And so we start there. We want to see how the site is ranking. Then next for us, it is to look at the website. And so we want to see what's going on there. Does it need to be updated? Who's maintaining it? It's remarkable to me the number of people that have zero idea who manages their website. So I've had a lot of conversations where it's like, you need to update this. Well, can you do it? Well, sure, we'd be happy to do it. We just need the logins. Well, can you get those? Well, sure. Who do we call? I don't know. So it's that kind of thing.
Wow.
So that's usually next for us, is website, because that is going to be foundational for everything else that happens after that. Big believer in tracking. So tracking as much as we can, phone numbers, emails, text messages, anything that we can track, we want to track that. And then from there, for us, when we start talking volume of leads and we want to create volume, it's usually more social media advertising. When we want better quality, it's usually more search engine advertising. So typically it's some sort of mix of those things. Volume used to be a problem before we had the ability to automate follow-ups and structure that, because the salespeople, all these leads are bad. And then you would turn off the leads and like, I don't have any leads. And you're like, you said they were all bad. So, so that's kind of where we go next. And then from there, we kind of keep moving down this path where we're just checking off boxes. What sort of email system, are you using currently? And if you're not using anything, we need to start emailing your prospects regularly. We need to email your residents regularly, keeping in touch with them, things like that, asking for more Google reviews. I'm a big proponent of YouTube. I think YouTube is a really underutilized platform for most industries, for our industry specifically. I believe it is. And so I'm a big believer in leveraging that, because we can create a YouTube video today, get it optimized, and start getting it to rank. And then that asset will live for as long as YouTube lives. And so a lot of times these communities that only have a few homes available at a time, we like using things like that because we can build something today and they can reap benefits for years to come from it. So really it is that. It's just looking at this kind of overall roadmap to see what do we need to do? Where are you at on this journey? And then where are you trying to get to sales wise? And then let's help you build a path to get there.
Got it. Matt, so I got to ask you, what you said you touch them 3 times, you try to the first day, right? And out of those, how many do you think opt out? What's the percentage on something like that? Because of the 3 touches.
Yes. So I am a believer in keep talking to them until they tell you to go away. I am a believer in that. So, but we do make it easy for people to opt out. A lot of times it's just a requirement of the platforms now. They require it that you make it easy. But at the same time, if somebody has decided they don't want to talk to us, then okay. But we tend to make it about the channel. So if somebody says, I don't want your text messages, we'll stop sending them text messages, but they're still on our email list. And then if it tells stop sending email, that's kind of our approach. As far as a percentage, I would say that it's a pretty low. I don't have an exact number off the top of my head. I feel like from stuff I remember seeing in the past, it's about a 3%, maybe 4%.
Yeah.
Will opt out. I think what has changed for us, and because the number keeps getting lower, it used to be much higher. So it used to be way higher. I think the thing that has changed for us is we have an SLA when we run campaigns for our clients that we will send the first contact in less than 2 minutes off the initial lead. So typically it's around 40 seconds when it hits. I think that's been the difference maker, is getting a response to them very fast to say, hey, this is Brandon at Wheel Estates. I saw you filled out a form for more information. Just wanted to reach out to you. I'll be in touch. I'm currently with someone, or, they all say different things, but something like that, so that now they've got the phone number, has sent a message to them. They've got a name. They filled out a form. We're just trying to increase how many times they're thinking about us. So yeah, so the percentage stays pretty low. We see it go up from a percentage standpoint. It's usually around the 5th or 6th day. It kind of peaks and then it falls through the floor. So it's kind of like we've hit them enough that they're like, okay, go away, guys. And so that's usually kind of how it works for us.
Yeah, because that's what I've noticed. Like even at my end, when I started with it, I had it where it was sending something out. The first day was two times, then it was once a day, and it ebbs and flows, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure like where you thought was an average number on that, right? Because if I go back and look, that's probably what we're tracking, somewhere between 3 to 5%.
Yeah. And I think that
something goes out.
Most of the platforms, Twilio and all these platforms that kind of backbone a lot of this stuff, they want you less than 2%. So like that's the threshold that they've determined it should be, which is really irrelevant to me, but it's the one to stay in good graces with them so that stuff keeps going out, right? So that's what we're always trying to track around, is let's keep it under their thresholds. And typically I think that's right. I think it's 2%. It's either 2 or 2.5. It's around there. So we're usually trying to stay at that or beneath that. I know there's a campaign a couple of weeks ago that went out. It hit like a 6%. And so we got our hand slapped for that. Got a nasty email saying, hey, are you sure these people asked to get this? Well, yeah, I mean, they signed up. I mean, talk to them. But yeah, I think that's really, around that number. I think if you can keep it under that, that's where things start to get good. I will say this on our first message, really the first 2, we have almost 0 opt-outs on the first 2 messages that go out. It's usually once the 3rd one hits, or then, like I said, over the next day or 2, they'll start dripping in. The first one, I think it happens so fast that they don't even, I can't say they don't have time to opt out, because of course they do. They can just reply stop. But I think because they just filled out the form and then they're getting the message so fast, they make that connection. They know that they filled it out.
Right.
And so I think some people feel bad about immediately unsubscribing like that, but then they get over that really fast. So,
yeah.
And I do think a business context is different also. I think a lot of times on like a more business to business, that's sometimes you'll have a bigger gap there, like, and it's just refining that list over time to try
Right.
to really narrow it down.
Nice, nice. Well, I mean, that's great, man. And it's so uh are you kind of trying to go in the direction of somewhat like a manufacturerhomes.com? Is that what, is that kind of the I don't want to say the structure of your agency, but is that what you're looking at doing?
So I think that we're going to stay heavily focused on serving communities and really doing the marketing agency services. I don't really have any desire to be in any of those other connected type
Yeah,
things. So those guys, I think, do a good job. I think they can kind of help you in a lot of different areas. But we keep our focus pretty narrow. I know what we do well, and I also consequently know what we don't do well.
right,
And so we're typically more interested in connecting to other platforms that do a good job than we are in trying to move into that space.
right.
I would say that on the management side, on my piece of sales for the agency, I definitely operate more in an abundance mindset. And so I'm like, hey, there's plenty out there for all of us to
Right.
interact and do. So I want to focus on what I know and help people build strong presence for their communities. And that's really kind of the beginning and the end of my interest in the space. So I know that they do a lot of similar services that they offer inside this, bigger umbrella that they
Yeah,
have. But yeah, really our interest is just in the marketing piece of
got
it.
it. Got it. Cool. Nice, man. Well, what do you got for me?
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, how did you get into the MH space and just kind of what was your journey to get here?
Oh my gosh. It was by accident. I was so I've always been in housing. I've been in housing since 1993, so 31 years now. I started as a designer in the site built world. I was a designer, did design build. Market crashed in '08, right? And I just really didn't know all that much about business. That I had my operation, but had to let people go because I didn't know how to maintain it and work through it. So shut everything down. I had a buddy of mine who who was a sales manager at a mobile home sales lot, manufacturing sales lot south of San Antonio. And he calls me one day out of the blue. He knows that things are kind of rough, right? And he's like, "Hey, why don't you come visit with me? Come see where we're hiring. We're about to open up another location in New Braunfels. It was going to be their second location, and we're looking for some salespeople." I was like, "Do you know who I am? You want me to go look about selling?" I was like, "You want me to sell mobile homes?" You know. But out of necessity, I went and I met with him, and you know, I met with him. I met with the owner of the company, and I was like, I mean, I don't have anything else right now. This seems legit. Well, what else am I going to do right now? So I was like, you know what? Okay, yeah, I'll try it, right? And so uh, I went to play. It's called Manufacturing Housing Consultants there in Bon Army, Texas. So I went and I started at that location because the one in New Braunfels still wasn't ready to go. Uh, and I think maybe I had a huge amount of success right off the bat because I needed to, because I was like, really, Brandon, I was pretty much homeless at the time. I rolled the dice on my business. It didn't work. Lost house, I had my vehicle, I had my clothes, and they were gracious enough to let me when we opened the location in Braunfels. No kidding, man. We had store the owner's wife had she had those Dirksen sheds, a business of her own that they would run from the locations.
Hmm.
So we had some of those sheds there. I had one of those closet racks that you buy at Target in there with my clothes. I would sleep in the office, and I did that for like 2 months, man. But
Wow.
um and so I just went after it, man. What am I supposed to do? They told me I was like, okay, and I just dove in. this was 2009, 2010. So 30 days in, man, I made 10 grand. I was like,
Wow.
okay,
Let's go. Yeah.
there's some money here. And I just, that it just took off for me from there.
Nice.
I was there for a year and a half in New Braunfels. They operated everything out of the South San Antonio location, all the back end stuff, and the operations manager parted ways with the company, so they asked me if I'd become operations manager for both locations. So I did. Then from there, I started getting antsy, not being in sales anymore after like a couple of years, and I talked to the owner. I'm like, hey man, why don't we talk? Why don't we look at opening up a little location down at the border, right down Laredo? I speak
Mhm.
Spanish. Go. There's nobody there. There's just one other company, and so he was like, "Yeah, let's go." So I went and found a place, opened that up. There was no, it was like a little retail strip center, like 3 offices, but it had a huge lot to it. So worked out the deal. We opened up there, started that office, became general manager for that location, and then I was still living in San Antonio. I commute back and forth, and then we opened up another location in San Antonio, and so I was general manager for both. I was there for 6.5 years. Did the last 7 years. I went from independent dealership. I went to corporate with Titan Factory Direct. I was there for about 7 years. And then the last 3 years I was there, I was like, man, I was making great money. But at that point, it was no longer about the money for me. I just, something was missing.
Mhm.
And I felt back to, I started realizing like it's a great money making industry, but it's so rough around the corners, around the edges. If we just had that thing that could help enlighten everybody, kind of, bring a little different perspective and a different type of culture
Sure.
industry. We help so many people already as it is, but man, it's like it was missing, what I'm talking about, that refinement to a
Yeah.
little bit. Not that it has to be, we're not custom home builders. That's not
Right.
what I'm talking about. But I'm just talking about the self-respect and the respect for the people, the product, everything. And for an industry that has so much money, it just wasn't sitting well with me anymore. And I talked to my wife about it, and I was just telling, man, we just need somebody that would just come in and bring that little piece of what's in the site built industry in here.
Mhm.
And I would try and do it like where I was at, but it was always like, man, just focus on sales. Like, all right. And finally, I just couldn't do it. And December 2022, we were on vacation, my family and I, in Chicago. And I just told my wife, babe, I gotta go.
Mhm.
I'm done. I can't do this anymore. The money's great, but I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel right. I don't feel right. There's so many more people we could help. There's so many people that need our help, but they don't even give us a chance because as soon as they walk on the lot, they're like, ooh, and not so much the product, it's
Yeah.
just the experience.
Right. That's interesting to hear you say that because what you're describing is very similar to how I see it. I don't know that I've heard many other people voice it inside our space. Maybe it's because you're from Texas and I'm from Texas. I forgot that we're neighbors. I'm just up the road from you in Fort Worth. Um, but the way that I say it as it relates to marketing is I think a lot of times because of the price point of the home. So let's say an $80,000 home as a figure. Um, a lot of times people treat the person like they're buying an $80,000 home. And then there's other people that are buying $500,000 homes or whatever. And they would treat that person drastically different than they treat this person. And I don't agree with that. I
Right.
think everybody deserves a first class experience because it's their home.
That's
It's
right.
where they're going to raise their kids. It's where they're going to make memories. It's where they're going to live. So we owe them that to treat them with respect. And so I'm really glad to hear somebody else championing the same type idea because I'm like, this industry has so much potential, but a lot of it is harmed by how we treat the people that try and buy from us. And I think it starts with a lead. When you don't follow up with a lead, that's disrespect. They gave you their information. So let's follow up with them. Let's treat them with respect. And I get it. It is a different price point than $1 million home. I know that. But at the same time, it doesn't cost extra to treat people with respect.
Right.
It doesn't cost that company any extra to follow up properly than it does to ignore someone, really. I mean, it's pennies. So I'm really glad to hear you say that, because like I said, that's something that's really part of the foundation for how I pushed to the agency. Was like, I see this stuff happening and I see what is possible, but I also see what's reality. And the reality that I saw was a lot of the people in the industry, I think they were just jaded from being in a long time, I think is a lot of it.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
and then you see some of these newer people coming in and they don't have that same history. And like on the marketing side, I mean, I talk to guys who'll say, marketing, I'm not doing any marketing. I just put the home on Craigslist and somebody buys it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, 15 years ago, I mean, like there's other things to do. And I mean, if you only have one home to sell and you're not in a rush, okay, I guess, but that's not really how the world works now. Like there's things that we need to be doing, and there's things we can do that are pretty easy to incorporate. So that kind of takes me to, go ahead. I think you were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think that as true as that is, it's pretty easy to sell a house. You've got one, you can market it, you could you could probably even still put it on Craigslist and get it sold, but you can definitely put something on Facebook Marketplace and get it sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for what irks me, maybe irk is too strong a word, but it's the truth. It bothers me when I do speak to those retailers. Well, we do 5-8 houses a month, and that's good for us. Or you got the mom and pops that they do 2 or 3, and that's great. But what bothers me about that is that's so selfish, in the fact that there's so many other families that need them because of the price point of our product.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not willing to do more. And oh yeah, by the way, you know what? You're going to make some more money, but they're just thinking about their little house, their household. They're not thinking about the public that needs us.
Right.
And to your point about the 80,000, I would tell my teams all the time, and not to call out a certain product, right? But we all know True is the entry level of the market, right? And so I would tell them, even though you've got a client that comes and meets with you and they need that 2-bedroom delight that you're selling for only $60,000, to them it's the same as that $500,000 house that this custom builder is doing, because like you said, that's where they eat, sleep, celebrate, everything. And at the end of the day, the percentage of profit in comparison is actually a little bit more on the MA side than even what custom builders make.
Right. Yeah.
These guys are lucky if they're hitting 7-8% margins.
Mm-hmm.
We're over here in the industry, we're at 12, 14, 15%, depending on the product and the home and whatnot. So why would you not invest a little bit of that back into your business to enhance the buying experience? And that's what's been my thing since the beginning. When I started the company, I'm like, we're here to revolutionize the industry. We're going to do it one deal. And you may not like it. You may not like what I have to say, but it's the damn truth. And you know it. You know it. And like you said, luckily there's fresh blood coming into the industry, especially on the community side. I love that. The fact that these investment groups are coming in and they already made their money everywhere else, and they're coming to the space because they know that there's an opportunity here, but they're not tainted, so to speak, right? Yeah. They want to provide a better experience. You look at some of these. I mean, I was just in Fort Worth doing a training class last week. 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. For Mission Peak Capital out of Kansas City. And they've got a location right there in Fort Worth, near Burleson, actually. It's called Rancho Sentido. And I mean, this place is, if it weren't that you saw manufactured homes in there, you would think this place is going to be a high-end subdivision. Community center, fitness center, pools, tennis courts, the whole works. But it's got MH product. And the product looks great because they got it fully decked, skirted, everything. I mean, they're not. So that these folks are bringing that in. And okay, are we losing some of the affordability of it when we go that route? Yes. However, that market still needs to get served. We still have the people, and you're still going to be, you're still going to be able to serve the people that can only do the 60 or $100,000, but they already have their own land. It's going to go over there anyway. That community space, that market is for a different avatar that you're after.
Absolutely.
But both of them deserve the same respect and better buying experience and being treated like a human being, not like hey, well, those are trailer people, and we're just going to treat them that way. And our display models, they're not trimmed out. They're not like it's what it
Clean
is.
it up. I'm not going to clean it up. Why would I take the trash out of it? Yeah. Yeah. I see the photos. Well, I think that, this is the way I say it a lot of times, is that inside the industry, historically, we've had a mobile home mindset with a manufactured home product. And that whole switch, because the market sees it that way too. I mean, we look at search terms and what people are looking for, and people still use that mobile home language. But the product now that we're all selling is a lot different than what that mindset is. So we've changed the product. We just have to change our mindset a little bit on how we present ourselves to people and how we sell to them, in my opinion, is like, okay, we've made these upgrades. We've improved the homes, we've done all this other stuff. Why wouldn't we also improve in these other areas as well? So what are some unique challenges or opportunities that you feel like you see as it relates to sales with manufactured homes, right now, or what do you think you see coming?
There are no challenges. I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, we get in our own way on the sales side. I've preached that all along. Everybody I talk to, I tell them it's us. We are in our own way, because even in the article that I wrote for MH Insider, I spoke about that, which is, like you mentioned, the product class. I mean, that thing has evolved even so much over the last 3 to 5 years from what where we're offering now. Whether it's a monoslope roofs and full tape and texture, or the hinge roof, everything. You sell some of the product, it's amazing. Right. So the product is great. The financing is awesome. There's advancements in the way the homes are installed. There's advancements in everything except for sales. We're still treating the sales process the same way. And it's like I've been talking about lately. Retailers need to be careful. Not that some may go out of business, but not really, not if you apply yourself. But here's what I do see happening. The builder developer is going to take a lot of the business away from retailers. The business that would come to them for land home business. The ones those 22 million households that can no longer afford a site build home right now, because they only make $75,000 combined, so they can only do a $250,000 to $300,000 mortgage.
Right.
The issue is you have 20. The challenge, again, like I said, is us. We're too busy figuring out, how can I take business from this retailer down the street? How can I take from him? How can I take from them across over here on the highway or the other side of town? As opposed to thinking, how can I step up my game and actually earn some of that business from these people that expect a little bit more, that want to be treated a little bit differently? Oh, wait, that means I got to improve. That's all right. I'm good. We'll stick over here. But those people are the ones that, they're going to turn to their wife or their husband and say, hey, man, we can't buy a house.
Yeah.
That right there, we're familiar with. It looks like a subdivision. It looks just almost like a site build home. It's in the price point we can get. These builder developers treat us a little bit differently than if we go to the retail center. So maybe we should give that a shot. And so instead of that couple going to a retailer, like where I'm at now, I'm here in Tyler myself with these guys, working with them. Instead of them coming here and saying, hey, we need land and home, they're going to go to that. Because everything about it, and as you know, Humans try to stay in their comfort zone. Humans try to, they want certainty. And that's more certain to them because it's familiar. And then
Mhm.
when they walk in the home, it doesn't look, it's fully done, right? It's already moving ready. So it does not look like a manufactured home even from the outside. It's got the porch, it's got the garage, it's got everything. I walk in it, oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. Oh, I can afford this. Let's go. When they could have done the same thing with the retailer, but the retailers over here, we're doing what we do.
Well, I've had those conversations with some retailers before, just asking them, they contact us to talk marketing. And I say, so tell me a little bit about your process. So when somebody comes and looks, and they find a home they like, but they don't have a piece of land to put it on yet, how does that work? That's usually the way I'll say the question to them. And most of the time the answer is, I don't know. That's their problem to solve. It's usually something along that.
We
And
give them we give them a realtor's number.
right. I get it. I understand. But then I've also talked to retailers that are like, hey, I've been working to establish relationships with all the local communities that have sites that are available. I've made real estate connections. Like you talk to other ones like that, and you're like, this guy gets it. Like
Yeah.
that's a tough, like even me, I've been in the industry for a long time, as have you now. And even still, like if I was walking into a retailer today, that would be my question. Like I'd be like, well, I don't have a piece of land. So I like this house though, but what do I need to do? And if they told me, well, you need to go find a place, which let's be honest, a lot of them, that's what they're going to say, then I would leave. And to your point, I would probably, if I saw the community already done, it's one less thing I have to solve. And so I'm like, they have a home, it's a price point, it's already here. I don't have to figure anything out. I don't have to hope that I find a place to put it.
Yeah.
It's just done. And so that's interesting to me because with you saying that, because I think that, yeah, this is something that retailers could potentially miss out on. And if they stay too far behind, it could pass them up to the point that they can't really recover, especially the
Yeah.
smaller guys. They could
That's
really
right.
have a challenge, I think. Yeah. Wow. That's an interesting insight. So as it relates to insights, when we're talking sales, um, what have you seen recently that you think maybe should be adopted more inside the industry as it relates to like technology or just kind of overall process? Or maybe it's some things that you already teach that you could point to that address that. I'm just kind of curious, what have you observed as it relates to that?
Well, that's where I know uh, we separate ourselves from anybody else. Well, first of all, there's really not many people that do what we do anymore in our industry, right? You got a couple people, but anyway, I'm not gonna get into it. So here's the thing. I can teach you, and our programs can teach you how to get more leads, how to get more people in the door, how to pitch a house and everything that we do in the sales process. What separates us and what we really need to bring, even before, yes, technology is great, and I think every location needs to have a CRM. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't even know how you even operate in such a high volume thing without a CRM where you're doing
The
everything.
note, it's the notepad. That's how they.
Yeah, but and I love, hey man, I learned so much at Titan when I was there, and I love the guys at Titan. So if this comes out anywhere, I love you guys. But I'm glad that you finally started getting a CRM 6 months before I left. All right. So all I'm saying is there's so many companies out, so many retailers out there that don't even have that. We're doing everything pen, paper, and anyway. So the technology, yeah, it's great. We can do without it. We can.
Sure.
The main shift has to be up here, like you said, the perspective, and that was the main reason why I left to start this company. And that is what is different because everything that I start with, the basis, the foundation of every training program that we have developed, whether it's on the community side or the retailer side, or for people that have been in the business for a while, everything from, I created these objection cards and the
Nice.
verbiage, for the, it's all based around how people make their buying decisions, the neuroscience of buying, right? And so and helping our people, our teams, our staff to become thinkers. to really and understand what purpose is, what purpose means, and how it can drive you, and how it
Mhm.
can help you enhance what you do, and really care. Empathy, man. We need empathy in this industry, and that doesn't
Absolutely.
mean weak. That
Right.
doesn't make a person weak. Having empathy and truly caring and being a servant leader to your clients, it just means you're that much more effective. It just
Mhm.
means that and not just for them, but for yourself. Once you become that kind of person who's constantly growing and trying to figure out another way to get better, to improve. How can I do this better? How can I do that better? How can I speak better? How can I format my ads better? How can I when you're that kind of person, it spills over outside of your business. It spills over into your life, and it spills over into the people around you. You
Mhm.
know, I have a 17, 10, and 6 year old at my house still. Okay. And my boys, I tell them every day on their way to school, whether I'm home or not, I speak to them in the mornings and I tell them, be a leader, not a follower. Right. And they see what dad does. They see what mom does. My wife helps me with the business. They see how dedicated we are. And our kids are all about it, man. So all I'm saying is if you become that kind of person, there's always eyes on you. And
Mhm.
you may not notice it, and maybe you don't have kids, but you know, and I'm speaking in generalities here. Maybe you don't have kids, but people around you notice. They can sense there's something about that different about this guy, and something different about this gal. The way you carry yourself, the way you say, and nobody say, you know, a lot of times you get that. Whoa, you know, we got to be down to earth. Yes,
Sure.
we do, depending on the customer in front of you, but doesn't mean that's who you are.
Right.
Right? And
Mhm.
so professional and personal development, I think, is the main thing that is missing in in this industry, because everywhere else you go, you know, if I'm in the investment business and I go in there and I think that I'm gonna kick butt and that I'm gonna be able to play with the big dogs, and but I'm not going to be a kind of person who is continuously trying to improve myself to get better. It's just not going to happen. So there's a level of complacency of, hey man, as long as I make this amount of money, I'm good, and I can do that being who I am. Yes, you're right. But I'm trying to open up their mind in our training with the first part. If we're doing the week long class, man, first day and a half is just all about mindset to get them to understand that. And so, or if it's a 2 day class, the first 3/4 of that first day is all about that, because that's what I need to hit. I can teach you how to do the other stuff. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
But I need you to understand why it's important.
No, I like that a lot. I think that, inside of what you're talking about there, I feel a lot of that inside our own business. So we're a marketing agency. We're not a community operator, but the same principles apply for us as they do because so much of it is foundational, just good business. And, when I'm talking with my team, every call that we have, we talk about what are our core values as a company. Like we're hitting that. So everybody, there's never a question. Like everybody knows what our core values are. I know that if we hit our targets that we've got set in front of us now, and again, I restate this on every call that I do on the company, we will help 15,000 people or more, 15,000 families. We will help them find a home, and, that to me is powerful. That is part of what attracted me to this industry, is seeing that there is opportunity to help people here, help people get into home. Yes, make money. I mean, we all have to survive, right? But it's not about that piece. It is about what we're doing in the space. And I'm just so glad to hear someone else in this space that is passionate about this and passionate about making the adjustments and helping people see it. Ultimately, it's up to them, right? I mean, they have to choose to make the change, but to have people that are in the industry that are trying to show that light so that they can see it and see what is possible. Because I feel like for a lot of the people that I speak to, they don't really know what's possible. Maybe they got into this space when they were 22 years old or something, and now they're 42. They've never been in another industry. They don't have anything to compare it. They learned it from somebody that had been in 20 years before them.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's just like that. And it's like, let's approach this from a little different angle. And so, yeah, again, on the marketing side, it's, treating people with respect, being prompt, do what you say you're going to do, a lot of those kind of things. And then as sales starts to take over, then they can do their thing. But we, as a marketer, we've done our part of this puzzle to bring it along. And I think as we get better at that, and as the industry does a better job, it becomes more attractive to more people. So to what you referenced earlier about that, the retailers kind of picking off of each other, and there's all these other people standing on the sidelines saying, well, what about us?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, if we can work to make ourselves more attractive, then those people will come to us. We don't have to steal them from this guy over here. If they come over to us, they'll come over to us because we do a better job, not because we tricked them into liking us better. And I think that applies on the community side too. The communities, it's a little bit different because obviously they have different locations. There's some other variables that come into play, but conceptually it's the same thing. We don't have to steal leads from some other place. There's plenty of people. We just have to promote ourselves properly. And when we promote ourselves properly and people are seeing us and they like what they're seeing, that's when they'll reach out to us. So that's typically our approach. And I just found a lot of the things you were sharing there really resonated with me personally, because I am passionate about trying to make a difference in this space so that 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is, when I'm finished in this space, that I can look back and say, hey, I helped a group of people make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So it becomes about impact is really what it is to me. And I want to make a big impact. So I just want to say thank you for jumping on with me and talking for a bit, Cesar. I really appreciate it. I know you've got a lot going on. If someone wants to find out more about you or about your programs, what you offer, what's the best way for them to learn more about you?
They can go to our website, manufacturedhomesalesmastery.com, or they can just look us up, LinkedIn, Facebook, where we're all on every platform. But really just go to the website. You can book a call there and schedule a call on the calendar. We'd be happy to speak to everyone, because that's what it's about for us as well. Our mission, and everything that's out there, you'll see our mission. Yes, we help the sales teams, we help the salespeople, but our mission is the people they serve. We want to help as many people become homeowners as possible through the people that we serve ourselves directly, making them better, helping them operate better, helping them make a bigger impact. And that way they can help more families, because they'll be able to influence more families to make the decision they already want to make. Right. And the marketing is genius and it's beautiful and everything. And that's the thing that gets me, is because you'll talk to a retailer and they know they have to do these things. They know they have to do the marketing. They know they have to do the SEO, and they know that that's at another level. But yet I'm coming in here and I'm telling them, hey guys, we suck. We're messing this thing up. We can have the best campaigns to bring these people in, but then we say hello and we mess it up.
Blow it.
We just threw Brandon's all beautiful marketing thing out the window. It's like, Brandon lied to us.
Yeah. Then I get fired because they did a bad job. So, but that's how it goes, right? It's like, the term that I use to describe that is scent. And so I say the scent has to be the same all the way through. Mm-hmm. So from the first ad they see through whatever conversations they have down the road, I feel like the prospect a lot of times is looking for what's the thing that's off here. Like they're looking for their way out. Like I use the analogy of like, if people are sitting in church and the pastor's talking about they're listening for the things that get them out of whatever he's trying to tell them. Like, oh, I'm clear. I'm good. Yeah. So I see it kind of like that in this process. And so if we run an ad and we direct them to the website, but the website doesn't match what the ad promised, then that's the scent is off. And that can be enough to get them to not fill out a form, or they fill out a form and the first contact is, a week later, and they're like, this person said they would get back with me right away. Like, it's anything that throws it off. We're like, get everything. It needs to be cohesive. Like everything has to work together, because we can drive tons of leads to somebody, but if they mess it up the first time that they talk to them, or they're like, hey, figure out your own financing. I'm not giving you any feedback on that, or go find your own piece of land. Like anytime they start to push back, there's going to be less interested people. And I'm not saying they can't push back, but let's do it the right way. Like let's be helpers along the way and try and guide the person to where they need to go. And I think in the end, if we do that correctly on the marketing side, and then ultimately on the sales side, I would say too, if we do that correctly, that's when we win their business. And so like I said, I'm just glad to know that there's someone else out there championing a lot of the similar thoughts and that's putting emphasis on this. Manufacturedhomesalesmastery.com, correct?
That's right. Yes, sir.
So go and check that out and check out Cesar's website, learn a little bit more, reach out, set up a call if you're interested, and get better at sales and do a better job at sales. So again, thanks so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I will tell you, like with any of our clients, eventually, yeah, we do have to talk sales process because it directly impacts marketing. And so that's usually my question, how it goes with them is like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what is your sales process? We ask that up front, and then we continue to ask it along the way because new people come in, somebody gets trained, somebody else doesn't get trained, like it's things like that. So I'm always looking, if we find areas that are having a hard time, that's usually one of the first things I go to is like, tell me, who's doing the sales? And they're like, oh, it's the community manager. Okay, great. What are they, how good a job are they doing? What are they doing? Like start kind of digging in. And then eventually it comes around like, have you considered, having someone, work with them to help them improve sales? Cause I think, man, in this industry, that's one of the hard things on the community side is it's a manager that's doing it and they don't care.
They don't want to be a salesperson.
No, that's not why they're there.
Yeah. That's why I developed that program. It's called Empowering Community Managers, because I'm not teaching you. I tell them right off the bat, I'm not going to make you a salesperson. Right? Mm-hmm. We're just going to give you some skills to help you so that you're more comfortable doing what you have to do as part of your job.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have some available. We're just going to teach you how to do it in a way that's going to be more comfortable for you, where you're more confident about it.
Yeah, that's really, I think that's probably the best that we can expect for someone like that. So we try and support them with tools and process on the marketing piece to make it as simple as we can. And that's a lot of why we started doing the follow-up, because they weren't doing it.
Yeah.
And it was easier for us to implement and do it and involve them in it than it was to say, hey, you need to do it. Because I mean, we could send them 100 leads this month and, they would follow up on 2 of them or, or something crazy. It would just be ridiculous. And so we said, we need to change all this or we'll never make it in marketing because they're not talking to anybody. And so, but I get it and that's what I tell operators, like at trade shows when I talk to them is like, the manager, they had to collect rent this morning. They're chasing a dog through the neighborhood. There's a water leak they got to, deal with, a resident that didn't pay their rent. And then, oh, by the way, I had 5 leads come in today and they expect me to talk to them. And so they're like, I'll do it at the end of the day because they're not salespeople. And then they get busy at the end of the day. And then it's, oh, I didn't get to it. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, now there's 10. And then it keeps growing out of control. And so that's really been our thing, is just to try and help them find a balance with that. And I don't have, like I said earlier, what I know that we're good at is the marketing component. So we don't really branch out into other things. We stay on that piece of it. So kind of the extent of our sales is if they don't have a process, then I'll say, hey, here's a funnel to use. And like we can categorize people. And so we start them with that. And then once they reach a point that they start either doing it and they're like, hey, we need more or something like that, then it's like, well, I think you need to talk to someone that specializes in this to help you work through it because it's not our specialty. And so that's usually when I see things start to transition. But it is a process. And it's like, because I hadn't really thought about that before, because I always think that they're open to sales and spending money on sales and things like that. Whereas I'm like, they don't spend any money on marketing.
Yeah.
That may not be exactly the case, especially for some of these guys that have been around a long time that are just resistant to all of it. And I think on the marketing piece, what I learned is that a lot of them look at us as a line item on their expense report. And if that's all they see us as, the relationship is doomed to fail. And so when we're talking about our ideal prospects, it's always people that see us as a partner and not as a vendor.
Right.
And if they see us as a partner, we can work with somebody that has one community. Like
Yep.
if they see us as a partner, it's when they start viewing us as a vendor that the relationship can go sour. I would think it's probably something like that in the sales piece of it. If they trust you, then
Yeah.
you're going to be around with them. And if they're just saying, "Oh, we got to write him a check again" or whatever,
Yeah.
then it's like, ah.
Yeah, that's why I describe it as being their success partner.
Mhm.
Everything I speak to them about is results. I speak to them about the the value that they're gaining from it, not the intrinsic value, right? The actual dollar value.
The real
You know,
value. Yeah.
what you're investing here, if I could get you 3 homes extra a month, it's paid for itself.
Right.
And more, because now you got a lot of rent coming in all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
yeah, it's what it is. So
Yeah, I mean, so we do it a little bit different way, but we talk a lot about the same thing. Is like missed opportunity. And so if it normally takes them 8 months to sell a house, doing it their way, and their site rent's $500 a month, well, that's a loss of $4,000 of site rent. They'll
yeah,
never get it back. Those months are gone.
yeah,
And so if I can show them a path to say, hey, invest $500 in marketing or $1,000 in marketing or whatever it is to sell it in 2 months instead of 8, well, now you just added more profit to your business that was otherwise was lost. It was just gone. And so we talk about that. And I think for us, I feel like I really see the threshold cross whenever they start bringing things to us that are outside the scope of what we're doing for them. So if we're running ads for them and they say, hey, we're thinking about rebranding our company, or, something it's marketing related, but it's not
yeah,
really a part of what we're doing day in, day out. Or they say, what do you think about this? Like when they start saying that, I'm like, okay, this is somebody that sees us as a partner and not as a.
right, yeah,
So
yep.
that's for me, that's on the account side of it. That's what I look for. And the people that want help, they're great to work with. And then there's some people that you can tell pretty early on. And I'm too old. I try not to bring them on as clients. We try and filter that out before they ever
Yeah.
make it that deep, because one of our core values is respect. And so I tell all of the employees, hey, respect to each other, respect to the clients, but I expect the clients to respect us also.
Right. Yep.
And so normally if I sense that out of somebody, or a salesperson senses that out of somebody, that's going to be an issue, we'll point them in a different direction, either to a different vendor or to like a do-it-yourself program. And we'll steer them away, because I'm like, life's too short to deal with
Yes, sir.
negativity and all of that. So good deal. Well, hey, thanks again. I don't want to keep
Hey,
you.
no
Thanks
problem.
for jumping on. I appreciate it.